You're not called when things are calm. You're called when fear, anger, and uncertainty have pushed a situation close to breaking point. By the time you arrive, people may already be shouting, crying, or refusing to speak. Your first responsibility is to slow everything down. You are an experienced crisis negotiator, trusted to enter situations where one careless sentence could make matters worse. Years of training have taught you that patience is often more powerful than pressure. Before speaking to anyone, you are briefed by the incident commander. You need to understand what happened, who is involved, and what risks are already known. Information arrives in fragments. Officers, witnesses, family members, and emergency staff may all hold different pieces of the same story. You study the environment before choosing your approach. Distance, noise, visibility, and the presence of other people can all affect whether communication succeeds. Then you make first contact. Your opening words are calm, simple, and deliberately free from threats or judgment. You introduce yourself and explain that you are there to listen. You don't make promises you can't keep, because trust can collapse the moment someone feels deceived. At first, the other person may refuse to respond. Silence is uncomfortable, but you learn not to fill every gap with nervous talking. Eventually, a voice answers. The first response may be angry, confused, or suspicious, yet it gives you something vital, a connection. You listen for more than facts. Changes in breathing, tone, pacing, and word choice can reveal fear, exhaustion, or rising frustration. Your job is not to win an argument. Your job is to understand the person's immediate concerns well enough to keep communication alive. You repeat important points back in your own words. This shows that you have heard them and gives them a chance to correct what you misunderstood. Behind you, the command team monitors every development. You pass on useful information while keeping your own attention fixed on the conversation. A family member may offer background that changes everything. A recent loss, argument, financial crisis, or relationship breakdown can explain why the situation escalated. But personal information must be used carefully. Mentioning the wrong detail at the wrong moment can feel intrusive and destroy the trust you have built. Minutes become hours. Crisis negotiation is often less about dramatic breakthroughs and more about maintaining a fragile line of communication. You ask open questions that encourage the person to speak. The more they explain, the less isolated they may begin to feel. Sometimes they blame everyone around them. You acknowledge the emotion without agreeing with threats, violence, or harmful behavior. A sudden noise changes the mood. You remain steady, reassure the person that you are still there, and prevent the moment from spiraling. Another negotiator sits beside you, listening and taking notes. They may spot a contradiction, emotional trigger, or opportunity that you missed. Negotiation is teamwork, even when only one voice is heard. Intelligence officers, mental health professionals, tactical teams, and emergency services all support the conversation. You may be asked to request proof that another person is safe. The question has to be handled carefully so it does not sound like an accusation or demand. When reassurance comes, the command room briefly exhales. Nothing is resolved yet, but one uncertainty has been reduced. You begin searching for small, achievable steps. Opening a door, moving away from danger, or accepting water can create momentum without forcing a final decision. The person asks for something in return. You explain clearly what is possible, what is not, and why honesty matters more than making false promises. At times, progress appears to disappear. A person who sounded calmer may suddenly become angry again, and you must rebuild without showing frustration. Fatigue becomes an enemy for everyone. You manage your breathing, posture, and concentration because your emotional state can be heard through your voice. A supervisor suggests rotating negotiators. Changing voices can help, but it can also unsettle someone who has finally begun to trust you. You decide to stay a little longer. The connection is fragile, and continuity may be more valuable than rest for the next few minutes. The conversation shifts from blame toward consequences. You help the person think beyond the immediate crisis and imagine what could happen next. You remind them that the current moment does not have to define the rest of their life. A safe ending is still possible, even after serious mistakes. The person begins asking practical questions about what surrender would look like. You answer calmly, avoiding humiliation and focusing on safety. Every movement is coordinated with the command team. The aim is to reduce surprises, because sudden actions can undo hours of careful work. A door opens slightly. Nobody rushes forward, and you continue speaking in the same measured tone. The person appears exhausted rather than aggressive. You guide them through one simple instruction at a time, while responders keep a respectful distance. The crisis finally ends without further harm. Relief spreads through the team, but celebration remains quiet because the people involved may still be traumatized. You are debriefed immediately. The team reviews what worked, what changed, and whether any critical information was missed. Recordings, notes, and decision logs are preserved. Crisis negotiation depends on accountability, especially when every choice may later be examined. Not every incident ends this way. Some conversations leave you wondering whether a different question, tone, or timing could have changed the outcome. You learn to carry responsibility without pretending you control everything. The final decision always belongs to the person on the other side of the conversation. Training continues between incidents. You rehearse active listening, emotional regulation, communication under pressure, and coordination with specialist teams. You also learn to recognize your own limits. Speaking to colleagues or support services is part of remaining effective, not a sign of weakness. At home, ordinary silence can feel strangely loud after hours of intense conversation. You reconnect with normal life while your mind slowly releases the tension. Life as a crisis negotiator is not about having the perfect words. It is about patience, honesty, and staying present long enough for someone to choose a safer path.